much more money if I can come in on Saturday. That ain't serving God with joyfulness. You complaining. You ain't saying out your mouth, but it's in your mind.
That's right.
It's in your mind. Understand that God reads minds. He reads them. That's how he judges us. But people don't serve God with gladness. I'd be glad when the Saturday comes. And day of rest. Back in the day now, I couldn't understand when I first started. I said, man, we ain't doing nothing but sitting around. That's all we ain't doing. But we understood what to do. We started studying. And that day started going fast and fast and fast. They're like, man, we need some more days. You know what I'm saying? But everybody got a starting point. As long as you ain't in that mode of thinking or regretting to do what God wants you to do, you got a chance. We can fake it all day long. But these are the curses that come upon our people. No other nation matches up with this at all. He said, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, everything. Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
A lot of people today in this world, their enemies are over them in their job. They don't have enough money to make it to the next week or the next day or the next month. And the master and the person that's over you got a yoke of iron around your neck saying you can't get no more overtime. But I need this to get something for my kid. I need this to pay a bill. I mean, I came up short because my car broke down to use it. But hey, we ain't got no more overtime for you. We can't do it. That's the yoke of iron around your neck in our day.
Right.
In our day, but the yoke of iron back in that day was really iron around your neck. This is how we know that the Israelites or the blacks or the so-called Negroes are scattered all over the world. We the only people that had yokes of iron around our neck. Let's look at that. Let's get a vision.
Hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness, and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest, throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you, and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children.
The eyes of his brother.
He just went through 54.
About 52.
Okay.
I'm just showing you a little bit. You go back and read all this on your own, but I thought this video was really good. Really good to give you like a picture. A picture worth 1,000 words sometimes. Go, well, start with 49 first. Then we'll jump to 52. 49.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle fly, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
What nation he's talking about? This is when he brought Titus, the Romans, in 70 AD and destroyed Jerusalem to the ground. And then in 16, they had their little fun with us over there in Rome for a while. Then in the 1600s, we came to Americas that we know about. 1619 to Jamestown, Virginia. They came over here and they brought us over here in slave ship. The tongue we didn't know about. That's why they call us nigger, which means ignorant. Go ahead.
Oh, you want to read 50?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regret the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
They didn't care if you was an old man or old woman. They killed you, they raped you, they did whatever they want to do to you. 52, yeah.
Okay. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God has given thee.
Any gate, any land that he, the nation, which are the European, or we might say the white man, he got to control it all. God gave it to Nebuchadnezzar and his sons, and they still rolling. That's the Gentile dynasty. From Nebuchadnezzar, King Darius, and Cyrus, all the way down to Alexander the Great and these 4 generals. And we down to the last one, which is the 10 toes, which is the European Economic Community, which is the United Nations. When that ends up, the Gentile rule ends up, that's when the 3.5-year tribulation period gonna start. And all of them run by Gentiles, or white people, or Europeans. This is what he's talking about. We are not gonna have no place where we say, y'all can't come in. You see, they can come in any place. Go ahead.
53. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God has given thee, in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee.
Now, when Titus came to Jerusalem and sacked Jerusalem in 7 AD, the Israelites couldn't get food. They surrounded the nation, they surrounded Jerusalem with armies, and they couldn't get food out. Some of the people died, and they ate their own people. Ate their own people. That's what he's saying, you should eat the fruit of your body. They started eating their own people because they couldn't get no type of food inside, because the Romans surrounded them for about 5 months, and they made sure of that. And they ran out of food. They ran out of animals to cook, so they started eating dead people. Do some history on it. Go ahead.
So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be eager toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall lead.
Who are worst enemy? We are. Us. Every time you see a black man or a black woman, we always got a problem with them. We can't say, hey, what's going on, man? You got a mean bug. I'm like, oh, I'm harder than you. Or the sister come over, she thinks she look good. Look at her, she wearing that stuff too tight. She always in a man's face. Evil toward each other. That's what he's talking about. We the only race that lines up with this. Go ahead. At least the white folk fake it, and they don't like it. They'll fake it for a minute. We come all the way out. I don't like them. Why? I don't know. I just don't like them. You know how we roll. Especially the men. Go ahead.
55. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates.
Just talking about the men. He ain't got enough to make it. He sure ain't gonna sacrifice his check. You look at these cats today, that's why they gotta put child support on these black men. Because they won't do what they're supposed to do in taking care of their kids. So they're gonna eat the flesh of their children. They're not just talking about eating the flesh, period. I mean, you're destroying them when you don't take care of them also. This is what he's talking about also. He said a man that provides not for his household is what? Worse than the infidel. That ain't worse. Same thing. Go ahead.
The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter.
Her eyes shall be evil. She gonna teach her kids to not respect their daddy. She gonna teach her kids not to even respect the son. You run the house. You the woman. And this is what we got now. All this women live stuff. Men like little children right about now. They little children. Because the woman run the household. He said, a tender, delicate woman among you which not would not adventure to set her soul upon her feet, upon the ground of delicate and tender, with her eyes shall be evil toward her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, to her kids. A lot of women today, they do not sacrifice time for their kids and teaching them. Sacrificing time. As soon as they turn 16, 17 years old, they graduate. Oh, it's time for you to go now. You grown now. Get out of the house. No, you don't do that. They don't even understand. They still kids. If my mom and dad would put me out at 16, man, I've been messed up. Been messed up. So I won't do that to my kids. I want to make sure they're ready to go. And my wife won't do that. She want to make sure they're ready. But this is what we are doing today. This is why the nation of Israel cannot get built, cannot be built the right way. There's no law to govern them. No law. You want to send them out there against the world, but you ain't taught them nothing about this book. You ain't told them nothing about the law. You ain't told them nothing about God. But they ready because they grown. Because they of age. They're not ready. Go ahead.
57, and toward her younger ones that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege, and straightness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates.
Are they saying the woman, just because of the things she want, she would sacrifice her kids, sell them to a man to have sex with them sometime, or just put them out, just because he feel like if I can get these kids off me, I can live a better life. I've heard this a lot, even in my family. Even in my family, I've heard this. Y'all need to get out of here, do something. 3 and 4 generations, one household. They can't go nowhere, mama. You ain't taught them nothing. Let's look at this a little more.
Which he shall lead, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which will not adventure to set the sole of the foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass, that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good, and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
We'll start verse 64. He's telling you everything that happened to us. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy father have known, even wood and stone.
This is how they've scattered us through this transatlantic slave trade. You can look it up for yourself. You know, brother asked me about that. He watched it. He was like, man, how does this stuff make sense? See, y'all might know all this stuff and say, man, we've been through all this. If people come and ask me about this stuff and they tune in, hundreds of people want to know. And they say, man, I ain't know this, I ain't know this, I ain't know that. And I talk to them on a daily basis. So don't just get in your head like, man, we've been through this. We got to teach this. We got to. He said he's going to bring a nation that you shall serve other gods of wood and stone. He's going to scatter you amongst these nations. This will happen in the transatlantic slave trade. Go ahead, brother.
And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes, sorrow of mind.
Raise your hand and find the ease amongst these nations. Who was thinking about, oh man, I ain't locked that door. Let me get up and lock that door. In your house. You thinking about locking the door, you thinking about all this stuff you doing, you thinking about your kids going out there riding around at night, and they might get pulled over by somebody or might get hurt from somebody. You thinking about all this stuff. Because we know that this world is evil. And our kids got to know this. And the ones that don't know this, they are hanging with them. And sometimes the adults that know this, they are hanging with them. And get caught up in friendly fire. Shooting, stabbing, fighting, all this stuff. Finding no ease. I just want to have a good time. You want to have a good time, but the other one want to fight. The ones you hang with. No, bro, I'm good. Come home. Now them angels outside of my house. Go ahead.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. And thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
You got to pay for people right now, life hanging in doubt. They on trial, they going to jail for murder or a crime that they didn't commit. 30 years later, they get exonerated. They find out, oh, he didn't rape that woman. Oh, he didn't steal that. 30 years later, they want to give him $1 million. He took his life away from him, destroyed it. Why? Because of these curses. Go ahead.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were evening. And at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
That's when it's real tough. When you're like, man, I want to lay down. I'm tired of the morning. Man, I want to get up. I'm tired of the night. You ain't got no rest in your mind. And you wonder why this happened. You read the book. The curse is upon you. Go ahead.
For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Yes, sir.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. You
look at this map up here, they're talking about it right now. You don't need a ship to go from Israel to Africa, which is Egypt. No, he's talking about something bigger. This is the transatlantic slave trade, where they're going to send you into the lands. Egypt is the same as bondage. Right. In America, it's bondage for us right now. I'm going to let him tell you right here.
From the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
That's what it is right there. No man shall buy you. What do that mean? No man can buy us out of this punishment. Jesus himself is the only way we're going to get, as the word says, reparation, or 40 acres and a mule. You ain't going to get that. He got to come back and give us the land of Israel. Just get used to it. We have a life sentence right here in this world. It's just like a person right now who go to jail for life. What's the use of you fighting the guards? What's the use of you fighting the warden and all the people that locked up with you? You need to learn the ways of the jail so you can have a life in there. It's the same thing out here in these streets. Y'all want to protest? Y'all want to talk about Trump? Y'all want to do all these things and try to get something from these nations? No, just learn how to accept your punishment. Like I had to learn, because I didn't understand it, but I understood. I can have a pretty good life here if I follow God's laws. He elevated me. And you think about Israel, you think about Daniel, you think about Joseph, you think about all the people that was in jail, but Pharaoh elevated them. He does the same thing to us today. But we looking for the big thing. I know he elevated me because I know where I came from. I ain't could have a pot to piss in and wouldn't throw out of it. I can't speak for y'all, I can speak for me what he done for me. But this is what he's talking about, the curses that he put upon us, that you would know that Israel is the only people that matches up. And most of all, they call us the so-called African American. Let's look at another. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 42. Isaiah 42 and verse 21. This is another sign. The curse, this is how you know who the Israelites are, by the curses and the punishments. And we're going to talk about, I think next week probably do so, we're going to talk about the blessings. You can't have the blessing right here in this land. It's not always just focused on the curse, but we got to know why our people are in so much pain, man. Why our people, they just don't understand. They keep running to a brick wall, keep running to it over and over and over again, expecting a different result. You keep complaining against the president, you keep complaining against the civil rights leaders. We've been doing this forever. Done this since Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all these people. We've been doing this forever. We got to learn something new, which is old, which is the law. Let's look at another sign of what God done to his people with these curses. Isaiah chapter 42, verse 21. Go ahead.
The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable.
You see what it says there? He will magnify the law. Meaning that these curses, he magnified them. He made it come to pass. With slave ships, with chains, with yokes of iron, with our kids being sold, with old men and old women dying. No regards for it. He made this stuff come alive. Go ahead.
But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses.
Hid where?
Prison houses.
Who's in prison the most right now? Israel, so-called African Americans. We make up over 80% of the people in jail. Go ahead.
They are for a prey, and none delivered, for a spoil, and none said to restore.
Prison business is big business right now. You know why? It's free labor. Meaning that slavery ain't went nowhere. This is why they come up with Amendment 14. This is why they came up with Jim Crow. This is why they came up with all the laws to do what? Keep us in jail. Basically keep us in slavery. This is why they come up with this. Especially that Amendment 14. Y'all need to watch that on Netflix. How they came up with that law stating that, slaves were free, but if you didn't have a job, they would lock you back up. So you had to have a job, but guess what? Nobody give you a job. Now they got to put you back on master plantation or back in jail working for master. Same thing going on today. Wish I had time to explain it. But go ahead.
Who among you will give ear to this?
Mm-hmm.
Who will hearken and hear for the time to come?
Who listening? Many of us got ears to hear, but we can't hear this because we in our own little world. Until it happens to you, until it happens to your kid, until it happens to a loved one close, now you want to listen. Listen now so you can understand how to stay out of God's way. Go ahead.
Who gave Jacob for a spoil, Israel to the robbers?
He asking a question here. Who done this to us?
Did not the Lord?
Who?
Did not the Lord?
The Lord did this. I keep telling you, he doing this. Not the white man. He just using the white man's hands. Not the Africans or the ones on the Pharaoh. He used the Pharaoh's hands. Just like he used Nebuchadnezzar's hands. Go ahead.
He against whom we have sinned.
We did what?
Sin.
Sin. Half of us don't even know the 10 Commandments. We don't even know 5 of them. Go ahead.
For they would not walk in his ways,
Mm-hmm.
neither were they obedient unto his law.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore he has poured upon him the fury of his anger.
So the Lord angry? How did he pour it upon them? Through the curse. Go ahead.
And the strength of battle, and it has set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
He set him on fire, meaning that he put him in jail, he shot him in the street, and he did all different type of things to him, but he never thought that God is doing this. Never thought. How many of us knew that God was doing this? We always say it's the devil. We always say it's the white man. No, it's God. He just said it, right? Read verse 24 again.
Who gave Jacob for a spoil,
He asked him a question.
and Israel to the robbers?
Mm-hmm.
Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law.
This is why. And he hid them in prison houses. Listen to this. This one ain't very long. About the prison houses. Who's in prison the most?
Welcome back to RT America. A new study finds black men are given longer sentences than white males who commit the same crime. The United States Sentencing Commission says this is in part due to prosecutors using their own discretion when sentencing black people, usually resulting in harsher and longer sentences. Here's RT correspondent Ashley Banks with more on the study.
On any given day, 1 in every 10 black men in his 30s is behind bars. That's according to the Sentencing Project. A new report published by the United States Sentencing Commission finds on average, black men who commit the same crimes as white men receive 20% longer prison sentences. According to the Commission report, over the years, black-white sentencing disparities have been increasing. From 1998 to 2003, sentences for black offenders were 11.2% longer than white offenders. Between 2003 and 2004, that percentage dropped to 5.5. Between 2005 and 2007, the percentage skyrocketed to 15.2%. Now, between 2007 and 2011, the percentage increased to 19.5%. And between 2011 and 2016, the percentage remained about the same, around 19.1%. The Commission said sentence lengths increased after the 2005 Supreme Court's decision and the United States versus Booker case. Booker gave federal judges more discretion on sentencing, ultimately leaving it in their hands to impose harsher or more lenient sentencing. However, before the decision, federal judges were required to abide by the Commission's sentencing guidelines. The Commission cites this as a reason for why blacks are facing longer sentences than whites. Mark Meyer, Executive Director of the Sentencing Sentencing Project says, quote, "What we see is that the charging decisions of prosecutors are key. Whether done consciously or not, prosecutors are more likely to charge African Americans with such charges than whites." At this time, the United States holds the title of housing the world's largest prison population. According to prisonstudies.org, the U.S. incarceration rate is 666 inmates per 100,000 people. Among whites, the rate is 450 inmates per 100,000 people. That's compared to the black incarceration rate set at 2,300 inmates.